I'm here with Edmond Français, who is the director, or one of the directors of the contemporary department in London. So he knows everything about art. I'm the manager of the Geneva office, who is the fifth sales side of Christie's sale room. In Geneva, we don't sell contemporary art or even art. We sell jewelry and watches, but nevertheless, we deal a lot with art, and we send it over to Edmond or to our Paris colleagues or New York colleagues. So it's a great pleasure, Edmond, to have you here and to listen to the market trends.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So my name is Edmond Français. I'm French. You will hear my French accent very, very strongly, despite the fact that I've been living in London for more than 10 years. It was a very interesting morning. Thank you very much. A very philosophical morning as well. And it's always great to hear artists, philosopher, and museum director to talk. My talk this afternoon is going to be a bit more earth to earth, and it's going to be a bit more about the art market, the art market in a way as I view it, experience it from a kind, I hope, an helicopter point of view, from my role as the international director in the post-war and contemporary art department at Christie's in London. I hope as well, don't be afraid, I don't want to do like an over corporate talk, but obviously the subject I know quite well is the company I work with, for. So I'm going to go through numbers, trend, what I think, client change, and I'm going to have a kind of overmap of the market as we have just experienced it following our London sale last March, and just before the Paris sales next week, and the New York sales in May. So I wanted just to begin a little bit where Christie's is like the #1 auction house in the world, and I just wanted to give few key dates, which I think are quite important to understand the big figure. We are making, I don't think that was the first one, but okay. One of the slides has missed. Basically, it's been founded in 1766 in London. We have a physical presence in 46 countries. Once again, it's not about corporate, it's just about to situate how we work in a global environment. We have 80 departments, so 80 connoisseurships from furniture, prints, silver, jewelry, cars, you just name it, and we have always an expert, someone who knows how to deal with an object. The first time that we had some sales in New York was quite recently. It was in 1977, so I'm over 50, for me 1977 is kind of a recent world, even if many things have evolved since. The first sales in Hong Kong was in 1986, and we opened in Dubai in 2006, and in China, we were the first auction house to have the authorization to sell in China in 2013. You will see a bit later, but I see that the big changes was for me during the pandemic, and we will also tackle that a bit later. Few things also about the numbers, the numbers of auctions we are doing. So it's more than 300 auctions a year. Usually in an auction you have about between 50 and 100 lots, just to give you some ideas. Live auctions in a room with an auctioneer, but also live to the public, about half of them. And the new thing is that the online auction, so no auctioneer in the room, every bid goes online, about half of them. I should maybe have begun with that. Last year, we were over $4 billion incomes. And you can see that the core market is the most kind of important, meaning like a piece between $20,000 and $5 million. A fact which I think is interesting for me as a specialist, we have offered more than 50,000 lots, which is quite impressive. 50,000 lots means 50,000 contracts, 50,000 amount of expertise, research, shipping. So we have to deal with a lot of objects. Some objects are kind of easy to work with. In a way, my specialty is quite easy to work with because we are talking about flat art. And it's also works produced after 1945, meaning also after the war. We sell 86% of all the 50,000 works. And in our department, in the post-war department, it's over 90%. So basically, when we have a work that you give to Christie's for sale, we have roughly 90% of chances to sell it. Different things what we're doing. Auction is obviously our main business. Another business which is quite important is private sales, where we just go to, we almost work like a dealer. We have a price. Someone give us a piece, we have a price, and we sell it with a commission. It's also a very important thing. We also, that's a new job, we also lend money against art, which is a new situation. We do estate valuation, which means that, a big estate is selling, we take care of everything, from the house to all the different objects within the house. We work with corporate collection, we store art, we advise clients, and we have also a very important role in the restitution sector, meaning that all the pieces which have been looted during the war, we are very, very careful, and we work with lawyers in order to restitute some works. Also Christie's education, when we teach younger people about art and the real estate, and also working with museums. Just to show you the different kind of know-how that we have within the company. We have about 1,700 people working worldwide for the company. So, you all know more or less what an auction is, but I just wanted to go to the sales cycle, because the sales cycle is quite important. It's our bread and butter. Auction is still obviously something quite important. It could be live or online. Oh, it's too quick for me. I just wanted to see this cycle about, we estimate the piece, we speak with the seller, we evaluate a piece, we find the sale proposition, we give either a guarantee, maybe I have a few words about that, and also we can give an advance. We think about what is the best context, in which city the best place, we have an agreement in place, we research a piece within the books, we check all the provenance, we check everything. We're trying to find the best marketing, we exhibit the work, and we sell it. This cycle is a classical cycle. It happens in 4 main cities now, which are London, Paris, New York, and Hong Kong. And usually all of the city has 2 important sales a year. We have also various sales, but like the Marquee Week, the most important, 2 times a year. I wanted to highlight a few things which are very, very important for us. It's why people are coming to us. And we're talking about the 3D. Debt, not very funny, it happens. Divorce, not really funny, it can happen. Death, we're sure it will happen. And sometimes when people are moving. So that's really, that's the main reasons why people are selling art. Some people are also selling art because they just want to buy another piece, to help their children, things like that. But that's a kind of very, very important things for us. I would come maybe a bit later. That was kind of how is my day-to-day working with client, speaking about deals, looking for the art, looking about the back of the picture, the condition of the picture. That's kind of my day-to-day thing. But obviously, Christie's is not alone. We live in a very, very important ecosystem, and this ecosystem, we all need each other. I always almost find it's the same bowl with different ingredients within this bowl. Obviously, the artists are the most important. That's the one who are making the art, doing the art, and these artists usually work on the primary market. They have galleries, they have some shows, different kind of size of galleries. You can have small gallery, a medium gallery, a very important gallery, but at first, the work of art is shown in a gallery or in an exhibition. The other part, which has been very, very important in today's ecosystem, is obviously the fairs. And the fairs, one of the most important one is Art Basel, which is, one of the, it has really changed the market. The new child of Art Basel is now Paris Plus, because it used to be FIAC, and now, Paris Plus has taken, Art Basel has now taken FIAC. Frieze in London, TEFAF in Maastricht, but also Frieze in New York, also TEFAF in New York. They have become a very, very, very important rendezvous where people can, gather together and see the things, buy some objects. We, as Christie's, we intervene in what we call the secondary market. When a piece has been bought, either by you, by your parents, by your grandparents, and you're thinking about reselling it. That's where the auction arrives, either by auction or with private sales. Within the ecosystems, obviously, some other very, very important people, such as critics, such as advisors, museums, and obviously one of the, we begin with the artists, and obviously the collectors. That's really this ecosystem where we all live in. You can be part of one or another one, but that's really how I think it works. So we're going now to speak about the art market, the disruption, how it has evolved, and the big changes. Sorry, that's I think, quite an important graph. That at the beginning, both Christie's and Sotheby's were almost little auction houses, because the art market in the 60s, 75, 70, 75, almost up to the 80, was kind of weak as far as Christie's was concerned. Why that? Because actually the big auction market was in Paris at the time. And that's where the big objects were selling. They were selling in Paris. And the French auctioneers had the opportunity to buy Park Bennett, an important auction house in New York. None of them were speaking English, and the deal didn't happen. And Sotheby's bought Park Bennett. Christie's also began its internationalization at this time. But that's really to see that it was almost a small company, and it's really evolved in a very, very big way. Some important dates for me are the opening in New York, in Hong Kong, Artemis, which is holding from François Pinault, has bought Christie's in 1998. We opened our offices in 2001 in Paris. 2006 is quite important because we could begin to work Christie's live. And I also wanted to show you, obviously, how the incomes have already increased in a tremendous way from 2000 up to, we had the 2008 was a real shock, but it didn't last too long. And then we had this, the COVID. You can see really the decrease is obviously the COVID, which has obviously totally disrupted our business because we couldn't travel, we couldn't visit clients, the piece couldn't travel, so it has totally disrupted our business. But fortunately, the rebound was extremely strong, and we had an amazing year up to 2023, when we had the chance and the privilege to sell the Paul Allen collection. Paul Allen was, one of the main shareholders of Microsoft, and unfortunately he died, and we sold most of his collection. That's the reason why you see such an increase for 2023-24. Unfortunately, the last 2 years, we always evolve with the economical situation, and the last 2 years have been a bit more shaky, I would say, like the economic situation in the world. So I just like also this thing, just to say that, in my opinion, until listen, almost until COVID, as much as I can see, we were almost living in a kind of a Balzacian world, you know. Everything was, a lot of things were coming, people were coming to the auction house, were really looking at things. It was like we were printing catalogs, we were sending catalogs about 2 weeks before the sale. People were coming to the auction and they were bidding in the room. Something which has totally changed. We really, with COVID, we really came from 19th century way of operating, obviously I exaggerate a little bit, to 21st century in a very, very quick way, because we had to digitalize everything. Everything was live. It has a huge, huge impact on the way we were working since. New words also were coming. You know, we were doing more. Our auction were like normal auction, like that, and that's it. Nowadays, our auction, you know, we have cameras all over. It's watched on YouTube. I think we have over 1 million persons looking at the auction while there is an auction, either in New York or in London. So it's like it became really, really an event, another way of practicing our business. Also, there has been some kind of disruptions, and I will discuss that a little bit. The NFT, you probably have heard of that, which has kind of something happened, but something disappeared as well. So let's be frank about it. And the way that new technology have impacted also our works. This word also sustainability, because before we were really doing many, many catalogs. Every sales has its own catalog. We were sending the catalog to clients. Now, we just publish catalog when it's a collection sale. Because a collection sale for us is very, very important. That's what we love to do, because it's really the view, the view of a client with art. And that was really very, very important. But now, you know, all the catalogs are more or less, everything is online. So if you want to know what's going on, you go online. So just some facts about bidders and the change of generation. You wouldn't be surprised that, you know, the more you get old, the less you're about to bid. But what is quite interesting is that really the millennials, which were born between 1981 up to 96, and the Gen Z up to 1997, are representing a tremendous, that's really what our growth is. You wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, you know, it has been a big change of wealth recently from an older generation to a new generation. But what makes something also very, very interesting is that the way, obviously, of the young generation, it's not collecting the same way that the older generation. First of all, they're not always interested by the same artists. They're not always interested by the same trends. And also, they don't have always the same way, you know, usually before, you know, the older generation, when you buy a piece of art, you are likely to keep it for many, many years. And many were thinking of keeping it for decades. The younger generation doesn't always think like that, has a more also transactional point of view. And also, you know, they have generated incredible wealth, sometimes through crypto or through the internet or different businesses. And they're very, very aggressive in their bidding. And also, we can see a bit later that they don't collect. What is very important, and what is very important for someone from my generation, is the way that they don't collect at all what their parents were collecting. They're already turning a new chapter. So usually, our average age of bidders it's just over 50 years old. Sorry, madam, but 3/4 of our bidders are male. But it is evolving. And once again, you know, what is the young generation is also buying quite actively is what we call luxury. Could be jewelry, watches, and all these kind of different experiences that are the jewelry. Where are they coming from? Before, you know, like at the beginning of the century, most of the buyers were just coming from America and from Europe. The things which has totally changed our market is absolutely the rise of Asia. And when I talk about Asia, it's not just Hong Kong or China, it could be South Korea, it could be Singapore, Thailand. It's really all this region of the world which has really been extremely interested, especially in our field, in post-war and contemporary art. And that has been a tremendous growth in our business. You know, they have huge collection, they're opening museums, and it's been a big change. MER at the bottom is more the European, and you would think that it's also the European plus the Middle East, because obviously the European part is very kind of flat. It doesn't really go down a lot, but it doesn't rise a lot, you know, just as our European economy is. But the Middle East is also a very important actor as well. They have also opened very important museums, and it's very important actors for us. So you see, in America, obviously, still the #1 buyers with the amount of billionaires, museums. So that's really, we really live in the the art market nowadays is a very part of a very globalized economy. We'll see in the upcoming months with the new kind of trade situation, how that's going to evolve, but that's the situation today. You know, our people, they are at the same time speaking globally, but they are also speaking local. They are also thinking locally. That's the beauty of it. You know, they are also collecting local artists, but they have also a global view about the world. Few things about the art market and the trends, as I have experienced recently. No need to say that most of the artists have been, you know, up to 2000 at the beginning, have been really male artists. And we have really seen a rise and a real demand for, in terms of museums, in terms of collection, to incorporate more and more female artists within their collection. And obviously, you know, like Joan Mitchell, for example, always been in our sale. She's always been there, but we have recently experienced a very important surge in the demand. Very important one. And now she's really become one of the stars of the market. Lee Craster, Jackson Pollock widow as well. You know that, you know, you have also very huge demand for those artists. Talking about Kusama, Perriand, which has also been overshadowed by the other male artists from the design, such as Le Corbusier. So most of these artists have been shadowed by, you know, by the male artists. Joan Mitchell, for example, was obviously in this big picture and really belongs to the American abstract expressionist artist, even if she already had also a very important period in Europe and especially in France, thanks to her love with Monet, the Monet paintings. And that's been quite important. And recently as well, we saw some amazing prices for Louise Bourgeois, and like Tracy Emin, she's obviously an English artist with international recognition. This trend is not recent, but we really see more and more something like a real demand for female artists, for collectors and museums. Black American artists also have really arisen. You know, I've just put here an image of one of the father of this trend movement, an amazing piece by David Hammons, with mixed material, and you can see broken records. There is also some airs, something like that. So that's a very beautiful piece by David Hammons, and we saw some new. You know, those artists are also definitely addressing new topics in the big history of the art world. You know, they have their own experience, they have their own sensibility, and they have their own vision about what is art. So, you know, we saw recently Rashid Johnson, Lynette Yademboyake. She's an artist based in London, and Julie Meritou, with Ethiopian and American, and our studio is in New York, and they've been really like very important artists as well, and they really brought new view in contemporary art. European artists. Why did I just wanted to highlight the European artists? Because when I began in the art world, like a long time ago, it was really about, you know, the importance of American artists, the abstract expressionist artists, the pop artists, but we have the chance, that really we had some amazing artists such as Pierre Soulages, Nicolas de Stael, we were working at the same moment that the American artists, and we have really changes of prices for those artists. And one of the proof of that is that now, if we have a masterpiece by those artists, we will be selling them in New York. Before we were just selling them either in London or in Paris. Now, for an amazing Pierre Soulages like that, we sell it in New York. For an amazing Nicolas de Stael like that, if it arrives again to the market, we would sell it in the New York evening sale. And the New York evening sale is really the pinnacle and the best of the best. Fontana as well, which, other artists before were really based as European artists. Now, once again, we're selling them in London. And there is an equilibrium is back between kind of American art and European art. Same for Manzoni and same for Klein. David Hockney is most expensive living artist. Retrospective at the Louis Vuitton Foundation in Paris is going to open in the upcoming days. And the same for Gerhard Richter, which is also a star, German artist, also absolutely a star. So they're really, once again, I was talking about this very globalized environment. So, now the distinction between European artists and American artists has blurred. Just few things about the masterpieces recently sold at Christie. You'll see that some big prices. The big prices don't just testify for the importance of the works, but they also testify because of the growing wealth within the world. They are like exceptional pieces. That is obviously, you probably have all heard of this one, the Leonardo da Vinci, which is a record which is not going to be broken in the upcoming days, I believe. But I hope it will be broken one day. What was, I think, very, very, very interesting as well for this, as far as this painting is concerned, is that we did sell this painting in a contemporary art auction. So we haven't chosen to sell it in a classical old masters auction. It was really part of an evening sale in New York. So it was really addressed to kind of all kind of buyers, including new buyers. That's also one of the latest amazing Marilyn Monroes that we sold also in New York. One of my favorite artists, Jean-Michel Basquiat, the second most important prize, also sold in New York. So that's kind of an homage for Basquiat to Van Gogh, when Van Gogh, with a bandage on the hair. The Lucian Freud, that was coming from the Paul Allen collection. The Paul Allen collection has been the most important collection, never sold at auction. I think altogether it was $1,500,000,000 US. Most of the profits, most of the sale profits have been given to the foundations that he has created before he died. An American hero, Ed Ruscha. You see those prices are really masterpiece prices. And I just wanted to inflate that because you can really see that there is really a market for masterpieces, like the top of the top, and another kind of more core market. But that is kind of the really masterpiece market. It has obviously touched our market, but also other markets which have been around the post-war and contemporary art, such as photography, design, which has been, that's a world record for François-Xavier Lalanne that we sold in Paris. And it's quite an interesting fact. We just sold last November in New York this René Magritte, Belgium artist, from a European collection. An amazing painting. And what is interesting is that I think a year and a half ago, before this event, Sotheby's had also an Empire des Lumières. It's for me the picture of Magritte. Obviously you see the bottom is already in the night, and you have this daylight. So there is this kind of visual shock between day and night. And you have also, a reflection with the water at the bottom. So it's really an amazing picture, quite tall as well. It's a series of, I think, 17 paintings of l'Empire des Lumières. Our competitor sold 2 years before this event another one, which was an horizontal picture, which was a great picture, but not as beautiful as that, and they sold it in the $70 million range. Just to tell you the big gap which can exist between like a very good painting and the best painting. It's really, it doesn't address to the same kind of clients and collectors. Going also to Magritte, we also seen a tremendous rise for the Surrealist period. And the Surrealists, you know, we just have celebrated last year 100th century of the birth of Surrealism. And for some reason, I don't know, Surrealism has kind of captured a lot of essence of the art. You know, it's an international movement based in Paris, but also, you know, it's also all around Europe, in England, in Germany, but also in Mexico. A lot of female artists as well within this movement. So we've seen a tremendous rise of interest for surrealist works in general, and which I think also is beautiful also in this kind of painting is that it's painting 1954, so it's like 70 years old. And it looks like so fresh to the eye. You know, there is this idea of freshness, you know, for sometimes more modern works is very, very important. And once also the big changes that we have seen, experienced, I don't know if it's for the best, but that's really as a matter of fact, is that Instagram has played an immense role in the diffusion of the painting. And you can really imagine how such a painting and the other paintings that I've just like, what I call the kind of this masterpiece segment, and all these paintings they reproduce well, on the screen. They do reproduce well, it works. And sometimes some other movements which are also extremely important, such as minimalism, for example, which is kind of the counterpart of pop art in New York. But if you have a Robert Ryman on the screen, it's difficult to read. And I don't want to talk about some other more difficult artists visually, because it's another kind of experience. Like a Carl Andre on your screen on Instagram, it's not so desirable. But if you sit in the flesh and you walk on it, it becomes something else. So that's also to tell you how the technology has impacted all the way that we are selling things right now. Sorry, I just wanted to make a few words about one of the artists that I have a special love for, Jean-Michel Basquiat. I love this sentence. I'm not a real person. I'm a legend. As you can see, he died extremely young. About 1,000 works of art. Most of them are reproduced in a catalogue raisonné. I think he's probably, in my humble opinion, one of the most amazing, probably the last amazing expressionist artist. For me, he's kind of the Van Gogh, and I hope that for all the Dutch audience, my pronunciation is great about Van Gogh, but he's really for me the kind of a Van Gogh of our generation. He has also addressed topics that no one else has, and it's not by accident that Andy Warhol really took it under his wing. So just, if you have all seen these incredible prices for Basquiat, but he's really one of the artists, I think, who talks to an incredible large audience, and also with young people. And just to finish about, what, because we talk about figures and things, and what, when we see a work of art, when someone comes at Christie's with a work of art, you always try to address in a conscious way or inconscient way these kind of questions, right? How the beauty, that's a very difficult topic to address, but what is beauty? Is it well composed? Is it good depth? How is the light? I mean, all this, how does the painting works? Rarity is obviously a very important factor to determine the price. How fresh it is to the market. The more if it has been in a collection for 20, 30, 40 years and suddenly it appears on the market, it's an amazing plus. The provenance, if it bears good provenance, either where it's coming from, but also the museum's exhibition it has done. The condition of the piece, very important. We always take the blue light, look at the piece very carefully to understand if it should be clean, if it could be restored, all these kind of things. Exhibition history, I discussed that a little bit, about the museum exhibition, to be sure that it's in the right catalogue raisonné. For work of art before 1945, we want to be sure that it hasn't been looted during the war. So, you have many, many questions to be asked. And also, what is also important in the year of execution. Talking for Basquiat, for example, that there is an important premium for 1982, which is probably the best year for Basquiat. During this year, it really produces its most exclusive masterpieces. Doesn't mean that he hasn't produced great painting after, but the 1982 is a very special year for the artist. I don't know, 1932 for Picasso. I mean, there are some like that. They're really like, sometimes those years are like chronometers for an athlete. That really shows there is something special there. And that's almost it, unless you have many, many questions. Just to finish, I always like the word about, I think I Gordon, the Scottish artist. He said, the art is a pretext for a conversation. So, it's a good way to finish. The art is always, I think if we're all here, and there are so many people visiting museums, galleries, so many people visiting our exhibition where we're doing them, that really art brings us together. Hopefully brings the best of our mankind, the best of creativity. And that's probably the message that people want to have. You all have your connection, your special connection toward either an artist, a period, a color, a medium. And that's what makes art very, very special. I think for most of us and most of the people, when you have the chance to encounter that, it could be through painting, sculpture, music, different things, but it's usually, it's among your great little experience. It sparkles something in your mind, and I think that's all what we are looking for. Thank you very much.
Thanks for an interesting expose, but you talked about positive trends. What about negative trends? What's going downwards?
Yes. It's working? Yes. If there are positive trends, you're right. There are also negative trends. Everything which is a bit more complicated, I remember so I was born in 1968, and when I was a teenager, I was really interested in the art which was really breaking the boundaries. And all the art which is, for the moment, once again, I'm talking about the market. I'm not talking about the creativity or what the artists are bringing to the world. Once again, my view is about the market, but all the things which are related with installations, for example, all the works which are in a fragile material, which are, like an artist. When I was young, for example, Joseph Beuys was one of the most celebrated artists. Just happens that for the younger generation, it's more complicated to understand, to apprehend, to resent an emotion, and also because of the material he was using, such as felt, butter, and things like that. It doesn't always age in the most visually great way. Videos market, I remember that in the 90s, some people, and we had some amazing collection of video art. And right now, to sell video at auction, even if you sell a Bruce Nauman video, and Bruce Nauman was considered as one of the most important living artists, it's not easy. So I think sometimes about the medium. At auction, I know that every painting which is larger than 3 meters is a kind of a problem, because not everyone, either 3, especially if we're talking height, everything exceeding 3 meters, it's not easy because it's going to be more difficult to sell it to someone with 3 meters. For some of you, for example, who have a Parisian apartment, 3 meters is not always possible doable. And after there are different kind of trend within the world. But I think, and also, I could do the same conference in 5 years, and it could be a total outcome. The collection, like your collection, all of you, it's a moving body. You add things, you remove things, and you feel that, when for some reason people are stopping buying works of art. And once again, it can be a very cheap one or expensive. It's not about money, but when you stop buying, suddenly your collection is fading a bit. So it's always this: how do you make it alive? And it's also, how do you want to follow the trend, but also to follow your heart? Because at the end, what makes also a great collection is also when you understand that it has a very universal point of view, but also a very, very personal point of view. I don't have the full recipe, but from all my experience, I can see this kind of things. I hope I answered a few points. Thank you. Any other question?
Yeah, just a follow-on to that. Considering what's going on now around the world and the geopolitical situation, would you say we are in a negative trend now? How much does that affect, like, your auctions and the art market in general?
It's very interesting. I've been, on the phone with my New York team to understand how the new taxes and things will impact the art. It will still have to be discussed how that will impact. It's very strange because the wealth is not well redistributed right now nowadays. But we still have some extremely wealthy people and also new wealth coming from different parts of the world. So that will, if there are people, some of those people are investing into museums, something like that. So that will be a positive trend. We'll see how the artists will respond. We'll see. I think the need for the art in those difficult times will still be there. We'll see how it will transact. It can transact in a different way than just a financial way, but I think the need for art is still going to be there forever. And that's also what I kind of experienced, because this morning we discussed a lot about AI, and it's very strange because the more we were into this AI, and I hope that I show you a little bit how the new technology, we use it a lot in a way to represent art, to photograph art, to distribute art. But what is really interesting is the more we're doing it to this very technological world, the more people also want to have the feeling of the end of the artist, of this very, very one-to-one relationship with the artist. So there is also what's happening, and there is also things that are happening because it has happened. So it's an ongoing story. So that's the story of the world. There is nothing more interesting than that. Thank
you. You mentioned the big names who are selling well, but who are the younger ones? I studied with Christie's education in 2017, and at that time, Adam Pendleton was one of the young black artists.
Absolutely. I could have absolutely named Adam Pendleton without, once again, it's not an exhaustive list. I don't know if it's very poetic, but when we talk about these old masters, which are really, because we need some anchors in our, things, pieces that people won't see every day, these kind of big masterpieces. What we call, it's not going to be very, very romantic, but it's called in our world wet paint, which are usually like the artists, which are, the piece of art which have been created the last 5-10 years. Before COVID and just after COVID, we had crazy prices for those very, very young artists. Some of them below 30 years old and can achieve $1 million, $2 million at auction. Once again, the auction, we're here to create the market, but I think, to be more precise, we're more here to understand the temperature of the market, We're here to understand the temperature of the market, meaning that those young artists have made some incredible prices at auction. Maybe good for the seller, sometimes good for the artist, sometimes good for the gallery, but long term, it's very, very difficult for a young artist to sustain these kind of prices. The pressure as an artist, when you go back to the studio, when you say that last week one of my paintings sold for $1 million or more, it's very, very hard to follow. The pressure of the gallery on collectors is also very hard to follow because, most of those pieces that have been selling, especially just after COVID for crazy prices, were bought on the primary market for little money. I mean, money, but little money. Often of the case, less than $100,000, and the return has been tremendous. So we've been obviously an actor of these things, but we also been very, very careful. So right now, we are a bit more careful with what we call young artists. And I used to have a gallery long time ago, and also we have to respect the work of the gallerist. And once again, that's the reason why I think also the auction house, even if we always want to be part of this contemporary art scene, but we always also want to also take attention of the ecosystem I was discussing a bit earlier. So we always want to have a look about what's going on, because there is also a need, even for our eyes, for our spirit, to present some of the young artists. But the bread and butter of what we are doing is really active of the artists. We need to have some, 10, 20, 30 years kind of time to offer to our audience, to our collectors, like the best of what, in terms of art, of what has happened in these decades before.